Yo, what's up? I'm San, and today we are opening the sealed vault of the most dangerous man in modern history.
Sand Observer.
Forget the headlines you read years ago. We are looking at the physical evidence that simply does not add up. From mind-altering bioweapons found in a private nursery to a chilling 4chan leak claiming a wheelchair was used to swap a billionaire for a body double hours before the end. The world was told that on August 10, 2019, the story of Jeffrey Epstein was over. But for those who have spent thousands of hours digging through the 3.5 million released documents, the truth is far more unsettling. We're talking about 2,000 secret videos, hidden cameras and teddy bears, and a network of power so vast it reaches the highest offices of the UK, the US, and beyond. But the most disturbing evidence isn't in a file, it was written on his skin, or rather, what was missing from it. This is the forensic investigation of Jeffrey Epstein, and by the end of this journey, you'll realize why 80% of the public still refuses to believe the official story. Stay tuned, because our #1 revelation involves a digital footprint in 2026 that might prove the monster never actually left. Our investigation begins not in a prison, but in the lush private gardens of Epstein's estate. In an email sent to Anne Rodriguez on March 3, 2014, Epstein wrote, "Ask Chris about my trumpet plants at the nursery." To a casual observer, it sounds like the hobby of a wealthy man. To a toxicologist, it is a red flag for scopolamine, also known as devil's breath. This compound, extracted from the angel's trumpet plant, is one of the most terrifying substances on Earth. It is a powerful drug that can cause hallucinations, total memory loss, and, most importantly, it eliminates a person's free will. In another email from 2015, Epstein was forwarded an article describing how this drug turns people into zombies who can be easily influenced into doing almost anything. And the story takes an even darker turn from there. Several victims claimed they were drugged before being abused. In a 2019 FBI memo, a survivor recalled fading in and out of consciousness. Her most haunting memory, seeing Epstein standing over her in full clown makeup. Was it a sick psychological game or a drug-induced hallucination designed to make her future testimony sound like the ramblings of a madwoman? The files don't provide an answer, but they do contain the records of over 2,000 videos where the mask he wore for the world finally slips. Epstein was a man who lived by two words: power and deception. These exact words were found written on a blackboard during a search of his private island. He didn't just invite the elite to his homes, he trapped them in a digital panopticon. Surveillance footage from the files shows grainy black and white angles of offices and bedrooms. The cameras were positioned with surgical precision, hidden off to the side, out of view of the unsuspecting guests. They were tucked inside smoke detectors and even inside the eyes of teddy bears placed on the beds. This wasn't for security, it was for blackmail. He was a collector of secrets, holding the reputations of high-profile figures in his hands. Iconic director Woody Allen once described Epstein's New York townhouse as Castle Dracula, where young women serviced the place like vampires. He joked that Epstein lived alone in a vast house, sleeping in damp earth, but the reality was far more clinical. The townhouse was decorated with framed photographs of the people he had harmed, a wall of trophies that the Department of Justice eventually had to redact to protect the identities of hundreds of individuals. To understand the scale, we have to look at the associates. The files reveal a web that includes private equity giants like Leon Black, who reportedly wrote Epstein a bizarre birthday poem comparing him to the old man in the sea. Black's former company, Apollo, even owned Shutterfly, a firm that photographs millions of American children every year. While no proof of a link exists, the proximity of such a predator to such a database sent shockwaves through the public. Then there is Thomas Pritzker, the Hyatt hotel heir, who exchanged emails with Epstein about borrowing military helicopters for a trip to Afghanistan. And we cannot forget the political heavyweights. Peter Mandelson, a former ambassador, was caught sharing insider information about EU bailouts with Epstein. Even Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, faced the ultimate humiliation when he was arrested at the Sandringham estate on his 66th birthday in February 2026. It was the first arrest of a senior member of the British royal family since the 1600s. These weren't just friends, they were pieces on a global chessboard, and Epstein was the grand master until the board was flipped. If you want to understand how the global elite really operate, you need to watch our next deep dive into The Market is Dead, How AI is the New Cartel, or click on the video on your screen right now. The truth is often hidden in plain sight. You just have to know where to look. Don't forget to like and subscribe to join our growing community of observers. I'm San, and I'll be watching. Now let us step into the Manhattan Metropolitan Correctional Center on the morning of August 10, 2019. The official narrative says Epstein ended his own life, but the forensic timeline is a graveyard of unfortunate accidents. Both cameras positioned outside his cell, the only ones that could have provided irrefutable proof, failed that night. They were sent to an FBI lab, but the footage was gone. The two guards on duty, Tova Knoll and Michael Thomas, were supposed to check him every 30 minutes. Instead, they spent their shifts browsing the internet and fell asleep for hours. Most suspicious of all is a document from the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York. The statement announcing Epstein's death was dated August 9th, a full day before it reportedly happened. The DOJ called it a typo, but in the world of high-stakes intelligence, a typo that predicts the future is usually a script released too early. When Dr. Michael Baden, the famous forensic pathologist hired by Epstein's brother, examined the scene, he found a room full of contradictions. He noted that the marks on Epstein's neck did not match a typical hanging, which usually leaves a mark just below the jaw. Instead, the evidence suggested a much more violent struggle. Inside the cell, investigators found a chaotic scene with orange bed sheets strewn everywhere. Most strangely, there were two nooses. One had neat folded edges, and the other was frayed and worn. If a guard had cut the noose to save him, the frayed one should have been the evidence, yet the police took the neat one instead. There was also a ballpoint pen and a sleep apnea machine with a heavy power cord in the cell. If Epstein had intended to harm himself, a power cord is a far more effective tool than a flimsy bed sheet. Yet he chose the least effective method, in a cell where he was reportedly upbeat and looking forward to his bail appeal just hours earlier. This brings us to the most controversial piece of physical evidence, the missing tattoo. In a 2017 deposition, Epstein was asked under oath about his identifying marks. He confirmed he had a barbed wire tattoo on his left bicep, a mark he had carried since his youth. When the New York Post released the photos of the body on the stretcher, the world looked closer. The arm was perfectly smooth. There was no tattoo, no scar from a removal, and no sign of the ink that had been documented in countless other photos. Could it be the light, or was the body on that stretcher a double? Theories exploded about the 4chan leak, where an anonymous medical worker claimed that Epstein was taken from his cell in a wheelchair hours before the alarm went off. They claimed he was switched out for a man who had been prepared to die in his place. It sounds like science fiction until you look at the notes found on a yellow pad in his cell. Fast forward to 2026. The world thought the case was closed, but the digital ghost of Jeffrey Epstein began to haunt the internet. Researchers tracked down a YouTube profile and a Fortnite player using the username LittlestJeff1 active in Israel. Epic Games called it a prank, but for many it tied back to theories that Israel would be the logical place for a man of his connections to hide. Then came the images from Tel Aviv. Millions saw photos of a man with long white hair and a thick beard who bore a striking resemblance to the financier. AI experts eventually discredited the images as synthetic, but the frequency of these sightings has only increased. From the Zorro Ranch in New Mexico to the streets of the Middle East, the specter of Epstein remains. As of 2026, over 2.5 million documents remain unreleased. The Trump administration stated the release is over, but that leaves nearly half of the truth hidden in the shadows. Why protect a dead man? Unless, of course, the man isn't truly gone. The Epstein files continue to shock the world, but this investigation is only one piece of a much larger puzzle. The same elite network that moved through Epstein's island is currently engineering the world you live in today, from the AI systems that set your rent to the $251 trillion debt trap that keeps nations in chains. If you want to understand how the global elite really operate, you need to watch our next deep dive into The Market is Dead, How AI is the New Cartel, or click on the video on your screen right now. The truth is often hidden in plain sight. You just have to know where to look. Don't forget to like and subscribe to join our growing community of observers. I'm San, and I'll be watching.